she wore my commando fake leather pull-on leggings as part of this outfit. And I got a message on my phone as I was lying in bed around midnight saying, "Oh my God, I'm really sorry. They've ripped. Someone's put a cigarette out of my leg or something."
It wasn't me.
Oh, of course it wasn't. I was like, "Do you know what? It's midnight. I don't even care."
Hello and welcome to the Shirts Team podcast with me, Heather Steele. Today I'm joined by Vanessa, Menrad, Harriet Russell and Georgina, Blaskey. Hello everyone.
Hello.
We were all just talking off camera, so we were like, we might as well start with it. But yeah, we obviously all woke up yesterday on Sunday morning to the really sad news that Matthew Perry had died. And we were just discussing it now because, I mean, there are often horrible things, you know, celebrity deaths in the news and everything. But I think this one has sort of hit many people quite hard because regardless of how old you are, like Friends was just such a huge institution for such a long time. I think everyone's got that real sort of attachment to it, whether you loved the sitcom or not. And yeah, obviously Chandler Bing was such an iconic role. So yeah, we just thought we'd dedicate a couple of minutes to Matthew.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really shocking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hearing the news. And I think I just found, for me, Friends was... So when I started watching Friends, I remember it launched September 1994. I was 18 and it was just like everyone was around at each other's houses and it was all about living with your friends and starting life out on your own and all the challenges and things that had. And for me at the time, then just about to go to university, that was exactly what I was doing. Obviously, I wasn't in a swanky New York apartment,
No,
but you know,
was at that time.
but it was about friends, not family, and stepping into the adult you're going to become and all the mistakes you're going to make along the way. And I think it just resonated with so many people for that reason. And I think his character in particular, you know, he was so awkward and always sort of seemed to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, but you kind of loved him more every time for it. And as an actor, just you hear lots of stories about how he could do amazing improv. He would change the script when they were taping live. He was always kind of really reactive, had amazing comic timing, came up with that fantastic way of, you know, saying his lines, which no one else really said on TV at that time. And which then people would just impersonate in their own friend groups all the time. So I think his legacy is absolutely huge. And I think whenever any of us feel a bit awkward or like we've done the wrong thing, we've all got a little bit of Chandler in us somewhere.
I think so.
I know I definitely have. And that's why I just really miss him and I feel really sad.
I know. I think Brits in particular take Chandler Bing into their hearts because he's obviously very sarcastic. His sense of humour is very dry and quite cutting. And I think a lot of British... Well, I grew up with it. So it's just a very weird feeling to think like one of the friends is dead.
Yeah, because he was 54, wasn't he? Which is just no age at all.
Yeah.
And there was obviously the reunion.
Because he obviously spent most of the last year promoting his autobiography, which will shed a lot, if people haven't read it, it will shed a lot of light on obviously his addiction issues, which can be basically charted through Friends. You can watch various seasons. He's said this, you know, he can tell when he's on opiates or when he's drinking or when, you know, whatever the particular vices at that time. If no one's watched it, I'd really recommend one of his last interviews with the book at the 90 Street Second Y. You can watch it on YouTube and you'll get a real understanding of what his life was like. I mean, he was basically on drugs from a baby, and smoking and doing all sorts from a very early age, and he's had to deal with an awful lot of mental trouble as well. So yeah, it's sad that it sort of ended this way.
But it's nice to know that he'll leave like a legacy of like, you know, other people can learn from those sort of...
He said that actually in the interview, that when they were filming Friends, Jennifer Aniston was someone who called him out on a particular season, and apparently it was a 4-word wake-up call is how he describes it, because she took him to one side and said, "We know you're drinking." And he said he was like really sort of shaken in that moment because he thought he was sort of, you know, this highly functioning alcoholic and hiding it quite well. But obviously someone very close to him who he cared about was sort of calling him out quite directly. So then he has later described the book as like other people's lifeline, basically, in the way that Jennifer Aniston was to him. He said, you know, this is why I've written it, so that people can sort of perhaps have the wake-up call they need and find help if they need it.
For sure. I was saying just before, so like I've said it on the podcast before, so don't kill me. But yeah, I'm not the biggest Friends fan, but I've seen I've probably seen every episode. I think because I don't know, it's probably like 8 when it came out, and it was one of those things that even though it was obviously very adult in that sort of setting, like everyone was allowed to watch it because obviously there was sex in it here and there. But yeah, you could.
It was kind of in a weird way. It was actually quite. Clean,
innocent,
even though it was on at
PG.
something like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was very, exactly, so PG.
Yeah.
And everything was suggested, but it never was threatening or scary or anything.
And I feel like even when I was then at uni, what sort of 15 years after it first started airing, it felt like everyone had the box set in like videos and then upgraded to DVD when that came out. Like every household, every uni flat
I think it's
share
one of those shows
one.
that people kept going back to
comforting.
as well. Like I've had multiple experiences with Friends. Like when it first came out, and I didn't have Sky, but my friend down the road did, and I got her to record them off like Sky because they would always air there first, and then she'd give me the VHSs. This is how long ago it was. And I'd be able to watch them. She'd always like miss the first like 2 and last 2 minutes, so I'd always get these like truncated episodes. Then, of course, it came onto Netflix.
Yeah,
about
and then
7 years.
And it was like the biggest show on there, even though there was all, at the time there was all this amazing new content, and everyone was like,
all the Gen Zs discovered it.
I was gonna say, still now on TikTok, every now and then you get like little clips of like the most iconic moments.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think also there's people like me then who are rewatching it with their kids. And actually you can go back to the beginning. You're like, oh, come on, let's watch this. And it's perfect. It's like those shows like Modern Family or whatever, where they're just a little bit suggestive enough to keep the adults interested, but actually it's great family viewing as well.
And it's just a bit slapstick in places. And that Chandler was a big part of that. And him and Joey, Chandler was always my favourite. I really fancied Chandler as well when I was younger. I think I had floppy hair.
Out of them, I was like, that would be the one.
Same.
I would
100%. So I felt really sad yesterday. Like when I woke up, felt really sad. But also, it was quite amazing. There was a sort of, I don't know if you guys were on Twitter or X as it's now called, but there was a sort of screenshot that was doing the rounds on there. And it was Matthew talking, I think it was only a couple of years ago, or it probably was when he did the book. He was on a talk show and he was like, he didn't say I feel sad, but he basically said something along the lines of like, I feel sad that when I die, people are only ever going to talk about Friends, even though I've done all these other plays and shows. But he's like, the thing I feel saddest about is that all I've ever done is wanted to reach out and help other people when they're going through things that I've gone through. And he was referencing how he turned one of his homes into a sort of addiction centre for men. And he's done all these amazing sort of things behind the scene to kind of help other people. And he was like, the thing that I'm only ever going to be remembered for Friends, but I hope that some people remember that I did lots of other things as well. And I think that actually that is coming through. Which I think
it is coming through, because obviously the context of his potential passing, we don't know yet, but that might shed some light on things. But I would also say, Friends has helped me in many times.
Yeah.
When
you feel low and down, you stick on an episode of Friends.
And I'm sure I can't be the only one. So
I
hopefully
agree.
he can see that in a different way.
And also the platform of Friends allowed him to have a home which he could then use in that way. So full circle.
Yeah, full circle. Very sad, but good memories. And we can keep watching him forever. It'll just be on the next version of Netflix. On hopefully slightly cheerier chat. Harriet, what were you up to this weekend?
I actually went to the Chanel exhibition.
Ooh, well done for getting tickets.
Yeah,
well, God, it was not easy, let me tell you. I just thought it was one of the best exhibitions in terms of value for money that I've been to in a really long time. Most of it had been brought over from France, from Paris, where there's a big sort of archive that holds most of these clothes, and there were just so many clothes.
I was actually speaking to somebody at the weekend, 2 people actually who work at the V&A, and they were saying apart from the sort of outfits that are photographed for the sort of brochures and everything, they're actually rotating them, because there's a lot of stock, but also because these clothes are so old and delicate, they can't kind of be
under the lights for so long.
Under the light for a really long time, which I just hadn't appreciated.
That's very interesting.
It happens. So interesting about old clothes. I find it really fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, some of them, I think the oldest thing, they do it chronologically, so it's really easy to get your head around. You go in and it's just literally her life, or the business's life story, basically. And so I think the first piece in there is 1916.
Wow.
And then the last pieces are sort of around 1990-ish, I think. So there isn't a a huge amount of, obviously because it's hers.
Yeah.
It sort of stops with her designs, if that makes sense. It doesn't go into like Karl Lagerfeld years or anything like that. It's about her perspective and her style. So, and I just think the actual layout of the exhibition is really impressive as well. It's a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want this to know, turn off now. But at the very end, they've recreated her apartment, with that big like sweeping staircase.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really.
You're like, how do I get tickets?
I've always been a Coco Chanel fan, but I'm now I'm
desperate to go. Yeah, it's really breathtaking. You go around the corner.
Wow.
I didn't know it was there, so it was a complete surprise. And it's really stunning the way they've done it. And then there's another room before that where they basically are paying homage to the tweed suit, and they've probably got 40, 50 of them, but they go around the room in cabinets.
Oh, beautiful.
That's really cool.
Stunning. It's stunning. I mean, I've got some appalling photos on my phone.
Always the way in the museum.
So much so, actually, I never do this, but I did actually buy like the official book at the end, because just what's in there is so unbelievable.
Wow.
And I always hate people when they're like, oh yeah, I love Chanel, because I always think, what an unoriginal thing to say. Like, everyone loves Chanel. But it will literally... The thing that really came home to me, actually, in it, which I think is a really positive thing, is you walk around it and you immediately think to yourself, like, I am going to pay so much more attention to the quality of my clothes, how I look after them, like, how I think about them in terms of, like, obviously, because at a time when she was making a lot of this stuff, people in general didn't spend the amount of money that we all now spend on clothes.
And they also had essentially a capsule wardrobe.
Yeah. A true capsule.
And like 2 or 3 suits. I mean, I remember my grandmother had kind of her smart winter coat, her like
Sunday
summer
outfit,
jacket, and then a few dresses, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, when my grandma passed away, we had to clear out her wardrobe, and we opened it, and there were like 15 things in there. We were like, okay, that is select.
Everything's matching as well.
Yeah, matching.
Yes. My grandma had all those like sets, and and that was it.
Really precise.
And then like 2 pairs of shoes that kind of went with everything.
Formal and casual. That's it. So it really brought home to you that there was a time or like a period where people really looked at clothes in a very different way. That's not to say, obviously, I know that the high street is great because it makes things really accessible, but I still don't think there's any reason why you can't pick up something from a high street brand and treat it with the same reverence.
If it's something you have bought because you can see yourself wearing it for a really long time.
And I guess going for things that are more kind of timeless and classic rather than...
Especially some of the 1920s stuff will blow your mind, because you'll be like, they could release that today and it would sell.
I bet.
I guess that's the secret of fantastic design.
So I was really like, I would give it more than 5 stars if I could.
Amazing. Oh,
yeah.
Sold it even harder. Amazing. Thank you, Harriet. Vanessa, you've had another sort of costume-esque filled weekend.
My weekend wasn't as culturally inspired. I went on a date on Friday.
Oh,
go me! Yeah, it was the first date. There was going to be a second date.
There is.
Love to hear it.
And then on Saturday, and this is the real exciting thing, I went to a Halloween party. I love dressing up. So.
Where was the party? What was the vibe?
Well, the party was actually one of the Soho houses. It was the White City House one. And I wanted to go there because I know they decorate, and like they did not disappoint. It was a massive spider over the pool, and then they had this whole room dedicated to just like all this food, like lots of treats, like cheesecakes, cupcakes, like sweets in shapes of like, snakes and blah blah blah, like everything like very
They'd gone
like
to town.
Halloween-y. And everyone dressed up, and that's all I ask for. Is like I want everyone to be so over the top. Yeah, and I actually dressed up as one of the Peaky Blinders.
Oh, I thought so, because I saw your pictures. I was like, I bet that's Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, I had 2 options. I was either gonna do a Euphoria cheerleader.
Nice.
Because they're quite problematic. So I was like, it's a different like spooky thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then
toxic.
Toxic. But the Peaky Blinders one just a bit more of a sustainable option, in the sense of like I didn't have to buy a whole thing that I'm never gonna wear again.
It's always fun when you can cobble together a convincing outfit with your own wardrobe.
Exactly. And then I paired that with one of those little hats.
Yeah.
I got the only thing I did get that I won't be using again is that blow up gun.
Why not?
But I had to have a gun, because otherwise it's like it's not really clear what it is. And then, had a great time doing the makeup. Me and my housemates sat together, did a nice little smoky eye.
Are you a Halloween fan at large or just general dressing up?
No, I love the dressing up part. I'm not like massively into like the decorate. Like I wouldn't decorate my house personally, but I love spooky season.
Yes.
Like I love when everything gets a bit like, ooh. Like I love, last year I watched all of Wednesday, when it came to that time, and like, just love that people dress up.
Were there many Barbie and Kens? Because that was going to be apparently the costume of the year.
Surprisingly, not so many. I saw a few more Kens than Barbies.
Yeah.
And I think someone else said that as well about their party. There was a lot of Kens. There was a surprising amount of bunnies and Hugh Hefners, which I was like, is that making a reappearance?
I think Playboy bunnies is quite standard, isn't it?
I know, but there was so many. It was like Easter. I was very confused.
It only ever reminds me of that scene in Mean Girls.
That's what I was going to say. It's Mean Girls, surely.
Mean Girls. So much underwear. People are just like...
So that's what my teenager Halloween party. Yeah. She goes, I'm going as this. Shows me the 3 girls in their Halloween costume. I was like, great, which one are you?
Not the Lindsay Lohan scary one, which I would be.
Yeah, no, I would all in one patent thing. Although we didn't do patent, we kind of cobbling together from the wardrobe, because apart from the whole like buying an outfit you only wear once, I also just have a real aversion to fancy dress as a kind of from an environmental point of view. Of course, it just really annoys me. And once you have kids, they're doing this every year. And of course you can go down to to anywhere, Asda, Co-op, whatever, Tesco. They've all got racks and racks and racks of these outfits,
flammable outfits,
highly flammable outfits, where they stand at the door. Well, we all know the story of Claudia Winkleman's daughter, where and it's infuriating. It really annoys me. So I put a ban on all Halloween purchasing. You can have an outfit, but we'll do it at home. So we cut up lots of bed sheets over the years instead.
You can come up with a lot of cool things.
It's more
with fun.
It was great. Then when she wore my commando fake leather pull-on leggings as part of this outfit, and I got a message on my phone as I was lying in bed around midnight saying, "Oh my God, I'm really sorry. They've ripped. Someone's put a cigarette out my leg or something."
It wasn't me.
Of course it wasn't. I was like, do you know what? It's midnight. I don't even care. Just have a great party. Let's talk about it tomorrow. So anyway, the rip's really bad. So
no.
Story of my life.
Your son can borrow them another year to keep it going.
We'll just slash them and use it every year now. It's fine. How was your weekend?
It was really good. So I was off on Friday because one of my best friends got married, which was really exciting. I was a bridesmaid, so 5 of us, and we've been I think I was explaining on Thursday, wasn't I? It's been really fun for me because we didn't really know that much about it. I think we were mainly roped in for sort of moral support on the day and like organising the hen do. But it's actually quite nice because it was like the surprises of not having seen the venue. We didn't know exactly how she was going to decorate, didn't know what her dress looked like. So we had all like the fun surprises that you get as a guest when you're not quite sure.
It's actually the dream bridesmaid role.
Oh, yeah,
none of
great.
the kind of, can you do that, all there's like name places on the tables, no jobs.
I mean, her poor mum, volunteered to do it, but she did all the flowers. She did such an amazing job. Wow. But I think, again, it took a good sort of 4 or 5 days of doing everything. But super impressive. But there's a bit of a nod to Halloween. She had she's got lots of knitted pumpkins from Etsy of like various different sizes, and they were sort of lining the long banquette tables. And loads of lovely flowers, and our bridesmaid dresses were a sort of burnt orange colour. So there's lots of, I guess, more autumnal nods rather than Halloween per se. But lots of, really nice touches. Really fun, and just had a really, really, really good time.
Oh, good.
Fab.
When you go to someone's wedding and you just love them even more afterwards because you spent loads of time with like their friends and family who you don't necessarily see that much or you've never met before, and it's just sort of everyone's just sort of reflecting in each other and bringing out the best in everyone, and you just see people in different lights. It was
and also I think when you spend time with that person, you kind of have that side of them.
Of course,
so you then get this kind of 360, especially through speeches. And if you don't know, depending how well you may or may not know her now husband.
Yeah, exactly.
But you suddenly see them as a couple in a unit together and get to know that side of them more.
That's
which
exactly
I think
it.
really
It was
nice.
lovely. And also all 4 people absolutely nailed their speeches as well.
Oh,
which
well,
was
that is good.
And some cracking tunes on the dance floor.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah,
Amazing.
jolly old time.
Nice.
So yeah, no, that was really fun. And then we all woke up on the Saturday and it was like, oh wow, it's a Saturday. So
still got a whole weekend.
It was super nice actually. So yeah, have a
That
full...
is the joy of a Friday wedding, isn't it?
Honestly, would recommend. I know sometimes people can grumble a bit because they have to take a day off work, but actually...
Well, and the benefit was this weekend, you got an extra hour in bed.
And that, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I did. So I think I was back in Brighton by 3 p.m. on the Saturday, and it was just rained all day.
it was
and then
horrendous.
so I just had a really great time of watching Gossip Girl on the sofa for hours. Watched a bit of the new Married at First Sight, and then spent a lot of time yesterday reading our book club book. Really good actually, by Monica Heisey, which is great. So I actually, weirdly, considering I had a wedding, I sort of came back this morning.
Quite rested.
No, but I came out this morning and actually felt like not dead. So all
That's
good.
good.
All good.
Speaking of book club, I started Lessons in Chemistry on Apple TV.
I really want to watch it because we obviously did it as our first book club book. But I'm on a sort of Apple TV not ban at the moment, but I'm just trying to basically when Slow Horses comes out in December, I'm going to reignite my...
Well, it's coming out weekly,
thing.
so it's a long process. So I think you could wait and then just watch them all
exactly.
together.
Vanessa,
what do you think?
I'm not that happy with it so far. But you know that thing when you read a book before you watch a movie or whatever, you're never gonna be happy. And they obviously changed some things.
Hang on a minute. Change some things. They have changed 80% of
Okay,
it. I mean, there are characters that
are.
didn't exist or have been completely rewritten.
The name of the dog is a different reason. It's like
Yeah, and the way he
everything's-
dies is a different reason. And Harriet, I mean, that whole character is completely different.
Oh no, I love Harriet.
everything's
It's a different
very-
Harriet, completely. Unless I remember because I read it twice in preparation
very-
for book club.
very
I feel I know this
recently,
book
yeah.
really well.
Oh, hang on. So talk us
suddenly
through
Harriet's married to her marriage is a completely different setup.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that far yet. I
So
think
she's
I'm
married
right for-
to a surgeon in the army who's based overseas.
Whereas in the book, he's an absolute arsehole.
Yeah, and
to
that's,
her
I
all
think
the
that's a really
time.
important
Yeah.
thing to
Yeah.
have, as they're taking away a very good, because the whole thing
That's-
about the book is the
And her
empowerment.
Yeah.
And her children are grown up in the book, and that's why she's available to help. Whereas now
Yeah.
she's got 2 young children.
Oh.
She
Why
is
change
campaigning for
the
kind of
campaign.
stopping a highway come through their area, but she's also complaining for kind of black rights as well.
To be fair, that I thought was a nice
that was
add-on
I
because I
agree.
did think I was the book itself. There's not a
Dodged
lot
that
about
issue a bit,
things
yeah.
that are culturally important.
Yeah.
To that
at this
time.
point.
It was actually
Yeah.
quite a clever change in
Yeah,
her character.
yeah,
It brings in a lot, but it sort of takes you. It took me a good episode or two to kind of.
But there's a lot of strange changes. For example, the dog showing up that early and the dog not being I don't know.
Can I
I
ask
didn't really-
about the dog?
Yeah.
Only because, can you remember when we did the podcast,
I know what Heather's going to say because we've talked about this.
No, because full disclosure, if you didn't watch the podcast and you've read the book, I love dogs but didn't love the dog in this. I thought it was a bit too a step far for me, basically having this hyper clever dog. But I was interested about how in the TV series they would get across, because in the book you hear things from 6:30, the dog's in a monologue.
I feel like I've watched some part of an episode where he was talking, or you hear his thoughts.
And is it effective?
I don't think it's the entire episode. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't feel too gimmicky, at least. I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm struggling. I just was really, I don't want to say disappointed. I was a bit frustrated, maybe.
Yeah, I think frustrated is the right word.
Because
And
there were certain parts of the book that I really loved, and then they haven't really included them or done them. But I think what they did really well was her smashing her kitchen up and how she was trying to do that. Things like her fear of the door being shut in the lab because she'd been assaulted before. Yeah. And it's done in a really kind of quite sensitive, subtle way. And I think the styling of it, I mean, the acting, Brie Larson, everything's amazing. I think if you watched it having not read the book,
That's
That
what I'm
would be
saying.
quite
I think you would
interesting.
love it if you.
Right.
I think it's just because we know these details. We did because, for example, when I read the book, one of the most like the assault scene comes quite early on, and it really like got to me. Like it made me feel. Yeah, and it was the same in the show. Really, I was a bit worried that they were gonna like
gloss over it.
Yeah, gloss over it, but they didn't. It's quite like a harsh scene still.
Yeah.
And I think that's great because
important.
you need to know the pain for her to be so like opposed to the door being closed.
But in the first episode, they suddenly have this whole like Hastings research beauty pageant.
Oh yeah, the beauty pageant.
Which never happened in the book. And that takes up about
really
50% of the first episode, where there's like a swimware round and a this round and
I
whatever.
can hear the producers going, oh, you know what we should do?
Yeah.
And this will demonstrate all those things that were in the book that we can't show. And I think, again, it's like they've used it as a vehicle or an event to...
highlight like
to
the
highlight
misogyny.
lots of things to do with how women were treated in the workplace and the fact she's kind of gets mistaken for a secretary when actually she's a lab tech and all these things. So in a way, it was effective, but it happens really quickly in the first episode. So as a fan of the book, you're like, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, immediately thrown.
Immediately thrown. But I think it is true to the feel of the book and the messaging. Would you agree?
The key message, I think, comes through.
And now I've just got to the point where her daughter's arrived.
Calvin, what's he like? Because I fancied
A bit too
Calvin in the
good-looking,
book.
I know.
No.
In the book, I imagined him being quite like, not ugly, but like just like.
He was
don't
meant
know.
to be
Yeah,
not attractive.
But in the TV show, I was a little bit like, well, hello there. If that's what scientists like,
I know.
sign me up.
Exactly. He is definitely a bit too
Like,
attractive.
I feel like he'd be quite popular, like, at that time for, like...
Right.
So I think but his behaviour isn't.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he still
Right.
is
He's
not,
quite
he
fine.
doesn't behave in a
Yeah.
way that goes down well with his colleagues. And there's a sort of aloofness and arrogance there, which I think creates that barrier between him and his co-workers. And therefore, he is not liked.
Yeah.
But... I mean, when they have these scenes where she peels off the lunchbox and they show the food looking
that's
down,
what I'm
and it is like,
by the
oh
food.
my god, the
Yeah.
food is
Yeah,
delicious.
the food, they did great.
I think also in the TV show they are going forwards, backwards.
I thought
So
they might
perhaps
do that.
some of the things that we're feeling they've kind of missed or not, not included or changed or whatever. I feel like really until I've watched it in its entirety, maybe it's a bit
Can't
too
judge.
soon
Yeah,
to
yeah.
judge. Yeah. So
Exactly.
I will keep going for sure.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah,
think it's getting better.
I'll wait till December.
Yeah.
And then,
That would be a
watch-
nice Christmas
I think so.
thing to sit and watch. Well, it's
Yeah.
not a Christmas thing, obviously, but over
No,
Christmas
yeah.
to sit and watch it would be
Watch
be
it all
nice.
at once.
Yeah.
Vanessa, you've been watching Bodies, which I want to start and haven't done yet.
Yes, I
How
actually
is
finished it.
Have you? You've done a lot.
Honestly, I started last weekend and I'm already through. It's basically a mix of murder mystery and time travel, science fiction sort of thing, and that is me in a nutshell, really. So I was like, sign me up. It's basically 4 identical murders that happen at 4 different times. So the first one is 1890, the second one 1941, 2023, and then 2053. And it's the exact same murder. Shows up at the exact same place, and so you go back and forth as well in time, where each police officer is trying to figure out what's happened. And then obviously this happens quite early on, but it's a little bit of a spoiler. It's like a first episode spoiler. Obviously the people who are further in the future will eventually kind of look into the past and see that something's happened before that's similar, or that they then start connecting, and it's super, super interesting. And I with these sort of time travel shows, I'm always worried because I'm like, oh, is it going to end really weirdly where it doesn't make any sense? I don't know if any one of you watched Dark. It's a German show.
I know, I didn't watch it, but it's on my list.
Yeah.
But then I remember everyone was like, oh.
Yeah, it was
ending,
so
which put
good.
me
And
off.
everyone, I was like waiting for the solution.
Yeah.
And I was so unimpressed. So I was really worried that it was going to be like that. But I have to say, I do have a few questions that I would like to ask.
Reddit.
Yeah. But it did like kind of make sense. Like it came together in a way like where I was like, okay, fair enough. But yeah, it's really, really cool.
And is anyone like high profile in it?
Yes, so we've got Stephen Graham in it. He plays a big character. And I don't know her name, but the main character from Unorthodox. She's the detective in the future.
Oh, cool.
Okay, cool.
She has a quite funky haircut. It's on Netflix.
Yeah. Great. So you recommend?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend.
Amazing.
And hopefully soon someone will be able to discuss it with me.
Yeah, okay. I'll try and watch it this weekend and we can discuss next week.
Lovely.
Earlier on, we were talking about the clocks going back this weekend. Vanessa, you found an article that...
Yes, I actually, on The Guardian, there was an article, because obviously everyone's struggling at this time of the year. You can tell everyone's getting tired. It's called... I watched the sunrise from a hammock in the garden. 16 ways to start your day well. Now the clocks have gone back. And it's just like lots of random people in the UK telling how they start their morning. There's a lot of people who do a little dog walk. And what I find quite interesting, a lot of people do stuff with their friends. So they'll meet up for a run or a coffee. Few people as well get up a little bit earlier and then have their coffee and breakfast in bed, just as a little treat. Listen to a podcast or watch a show,
what,
I've
every
never
day?
tried. I mean, I don't know every day, but I think it's interesting to hear, because I find it really hard this time of the year getting out of bed. It doesn't matter if, it's not like, oh, I don't want to go to work. It's more like, I don't want to get up.
Yeah, when it's pitch black outside, it's not the best motivator.
Yeah.
Although out of bed.
With the clocks changing, we have obviously regained.
I did notice a difference this morning.
Yeah,
actually.
I was up at 6 this morning, and it was light.
Yeah,
which last week it wasn't. So we get that for a short time.
Yes,
about 3-4 weeks, and then I feel like we're sort of back where we were.
But it's the 4 o'clock
The
darkness. I think that's what. Is there any tips in there for dealing with?
No, it's actually just about the morning. I'm hoping they're going to do one about the afternoon.
I really don't mind dark evenings, because I feel like if you come out of work and it's dark, you're on your way home to get snuggly and
I can see
down.
that. I think it's when you kind of leave the house and it's still quite dark, and then you leave the office and it's still quite dark. That's
so
when it can feel a long slog.
Dark.
You have to make sure you get out at lunchtime.
100%. Yeah, I think that is the key.
I think that remembering that, and that I forget a lot.
I forget a lot,
and then I get out in the evening, and it's also when you have plans in the evening, and it's already so dark.
Yeah,
and it's just like, the transition is quite hard. I think.
Yeah, I think once you're in it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I find from now till Christmas fine, because it's
it's
so many little punctuation points to help you get there.
That is true.
It's the January, February darkness. So by March, when things change, the clocks change again. It's suddenly like, oh my god, it's light and it's 9 o'clock at night. It's like that's the bit that really lifts me up again. But
I think this is why getting help from meeting up with friends,
that's
doing
nice
little routines that are a bit different, treating yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, getting that candle on.
Yeah.
Well, I think
it's quite nice.
What's nice about that is also acknowledging this is now a shift.
Yeah.
And you need to kind of take a moment to accept that there's a shift and a change. And if you're the kind of person that maybe is sensitive to that, it's really good to come up with some ways. And actually, even if it's at the other end of the day, maybe it's going for a run after work with a friend because it's dark and you want to be safe, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So I think it's just being alert to it, because I think it's when you sort of sleepwalk through things that you then don't realise that it's maybe affected you.
Yeah.
You're vulnerable to that.
I get quite I used to, when it would get dark, and then, I would wake up quite depressed, and then I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do it. So for me, it really, really helped to make a plan with someone, because as much as I was like, I don't want to, and nothing would get me out of bed, because I made a plan, I would still get up.
Yeah.
And once I was out and about, it was perfectly fine, because you get the endorphins, and then you have a good day. You don't believe it when you wake up, and I would never believe it, even though I had done it before and before.
Yeah.
But once I was out with a friend, forced myself to do it, and then it was fine. It was absolutely fine. But it can get so hard. And
it can. I remember you saying before that on work from home days, you always get up and go for a walk before the day starts, and then you always feel much better.
Honestly, it makes such a difference. And, it's not every day that I wake up and I'm like, yes, hello day. Most of the time you'll see me with sunglasses and but once I've done it, then, and it's so important for mental health.
Yeah. Actually,
these
interestingly
things.
about the sunglasses, though, I was reading something about our circadian rhythms, and they said the best thing you can do is get outside and look at the sky, providing by this point it is actually light, without sunglasses on, because you actually need the daylight to really hit your retina and create that chemical reaction. And again at lunchtime, and again at the end of the day. And if you have got a back door or a balcony or anything, where as soon as you can in the morning, and it was really within 20 minutes of waking up, stand outside and look up. And that will help set your body clock so that you are then tired and awake at the right times of day, which is obviously hard this time of year.
I think my boyfriend would kill me if I threw open the balcony doors. Like 6:15.
Well, he might, but then after a few weeks, he might start feeling better and go, I don't know why I feel so good right now. You'll be like, I do.
You'll say, I'm doing this for you, babe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, all good tips. All good tips. Thank you.
Season to take care of yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Vanessa, you've been super productive this Monday. You must have been getting up early and going for your walk. You've got another feature for us. Explain.
Yes, so this one I am quite excited about because when I saw this campaign go up, I nearly lost my mind. I'm a big Harry Potter fan, and it's the Loewe and Behold, How Older Models Are Casting a Spell on Fashion, inspired by Dame Maggie Smith on the Loewe campaign. It features quite a few of other scenarios. For example, 2015 Celine with Joe and Didion, which is very cool as well. Actually,
really cool.
Good inspiration for me as well for lighting. We've got Martha Stewart, 2023 Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, we discussed that was a previous podcast.
Yeah. Helen Mirren on a catwalk during Paris Fashion Week.
Nice.
It's just, I find it really exciting that we've got we're breaking that sort of boundary more and more.
Those Loewe pictures were amazing. I don't think I've seen anything sort of fashion based for a while where everyone was reposting it really quickly on their stories.
Loewe do well with that.
There's a moment.
They're quite creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good at creating a viral moment, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think it must just be, and I don't know if this is actually a sad thing or could it be a good thing, which is the reason it goes viral is because it's still so unusual and so different, and the way to be subversive is now to use older women. Like I say, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, really, what I'm trying to say, but I think hopefully the more it happens, the less subversive it becomes.
Didn't Dame Maggie say that it was her first ever modelling shoots as well? I think I read that somewhere.
Which is insane.
Surprises me, but then doesn't, because again, I guess years ago when she might have traditionally been a model, she probably wasn't.
Or actresses were not at that
That's
point
what I mean. You didn't
ever... you didn't have hyphenated job titles, model, actress, influencer.
Stick to the
didn't
stage.
Exist. It was just, she was a very traditional actress. I mean, it's funny you talk about Harry Potter. I really associate her with kind of E.M. Forster adaptations
same.
from the sort of 90s, I suppose, and sort of very much think of her like that. It is interesting, but I think it's great they have a moment.
I do think all of the people that are featured in this article, they're all quite iconic women. So it's not just a model of an older age.
That's a really good point, actually.
Mary Berry doing the Burberry thing, that. She's an iconic British character. So they're all quite big and. Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, you're right. There's a difference between picking a high-profile celebrity who's older and just an ordinary woman off the street who's older to front a campaign like that.
Although I do feel you're seeing a bit more of that gradually.
Yeah. I like when people incorporate a level of diversity without making a big deal out of it. I like when it just naturally is in there and they don't even advertise it as a big thing, and it just sits within there. That's quite that's how it should be.
And I liked what you were saying earlier before we started the podcast about the lack of airbrushing, because for me that was what was so striking about Dame Maggie. You could tell that is just her and her skin.
Yeah, they'd left her face alone.
Yeah. You were looking at the handbag and what she was wearing and that fabulous coat, but it was she was very much there.
Although you couldn't really airbrush her, could you?
No,
because everyone knows what her face looks like
from
the close-ups on the screen.
But you say that, but I still, I'm sure there's a bit of retouching for sure. But I feel often you can see a bit too much going on. So
there's a difference between editing out a pimple and airbrushing, and I think there's. Even though it's gotten so much better over the years, there's still a long way to go to leave imperfections as they are. I still see it a lot in magazines where there's literally.
Well, I was the Vogue. You were talking about the Vogue cover with the supers, weren't you? And I was talking about a cover on Allure with Jennifer Aniston not too long ago. And it was quite depressing. Like, everyone knows what Jennifer Aniston looks like these days, and I think she looks good.
Yeah, 100%.
But this cover had given her, speaking of Friends earlier, really long hair extensions. If anyone remembers Friends season 6, where Rachel she has really long hair in that season.
Oh yeah.
So immediately that's like a reference. You see these pictures on Allure and you're like, oh, they're trying to turn her into Rachel circa like 2003. So what they're essentially saying is like, let's try and make Jennifer Aniston look 20 years younger.
Yeah.
And the airbrushing is insane. Like, she looks good, don't get me wrong, but she's practically naked on this cover as well. They've sort of put her hair in
now you say
strategic
that with the hair,
positions,
yeah,
and she's sort of leaning back like this, and it's all cascading like this. She looks super thin. Her skin is not just on her face, but her body is like flawless, and you just think, that's not real. Like, that's not what she looks like.
It's just not necessary. I don't understand how we still, like, because what that does, and it might be that she was like, oh, I don't want to look natural, like, but what that does to, like, people that look at it is then, I look in the mirror at my cellulite and I'm like, oh, should I cover this up? Like, is this, like, inappropriate to, like, it just sends a message out, even if it's unintentional.
Your brain is saying, like, Jennifer Aniston is, how old? In her late 50s. So if she looks like that, we all know she doesn't, but your brain is telling you that she looks like that, and I'm only 34 and finding all of these imperfections on myself. It's like, it's a really horrible circle.
The one thing I'd say, there was an example quite recently of, I can't remember who it was, but it was someone like a Lady Gaga who was on the front cover of a magazine, and they were really upset because they'd been really heavily airbrushed, and that wasn't what they wanted at all either. So, but I don't know, for all we know, with that Allure cover, it might be
it might not have been her.
Might not have been her
picture
choice.
editors who got a bit overzealous rather than
no idea.
trying to project an image of something that's not.
She looks insane on it, don't get me wrong, but immediately anyone with half a brain cell knows that is not what she looks like right now. That's what she looked like 20 years ago.
In a similar vein, did anyone see Dame Judi Dench on Graham Norton?
Oh my God. How beautiful blew
that?
my mind.
So she's promoting her new Shakespeare book at the moment, and Graham was, gently teasing, and, it was, who else was on the couch?
It was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Quite an iconic couch.
Judy, then Jack Whitehall was on the end.
Yes.
Oh, the guy from the repair shop who also made me cry. And I didn't even watch the repair shop.
I don't watch it if you don't want to cry. I cry every time.
His story, and he was talking about the person in the audience who had helped him basically off the street when he was rock bottom. And he chokes up and he looks at this guy, and I don't even watch the show, and I was like, oh my God, it's so moving.
But it was
Judy
a normal sort of
Dench.
rowdy, jokes left, right and centre sort of couch. And then he's sort of ribbing Dame Judy, being like, oh, can you just recite any old Shakespeare? And she's like, well, yeah, what do you want? Do you want this or a sonnet? And he's like, oh, go on then, recite a sonnet. And everyone's sort of like, the audience not tittering, but there's noise in the background as there are on these chat shows, and then she just starts to tell this sonnet, and by the end, or not even by the end, after 2 sentences, everyone's just silent, captivated. She just gets, I don't know, we all, maybe not you, Vanessa, lucky you if so, but we all studied Shakespeare at school, and I think when you're reading stuff, you're just like, I don't get it. Or you're just reading a sonnet, like, a few things rhyme, whatever, when you're that age. But that actually seeing someone who's obviously one of the best ever actresses, sort of, this is her life, she's always done Shakespeare, sort of recite something so simply and powerfully, it is mesmerising.
It's so worth looking up. And also, I think what struck me as well was, it's been well documented now that she struggles with her eyesight. So when she gets scripts, she kind of can't read scripts. And she's obviously got it all in her head, all these wonderful plays. And, she can, when she comes on, someone helps her a little bit, one of the other guests to help her get onto the sofa. And, she is doddery, I suppose.
She's in her very late 80s, isn't she?
And her whole physique changed. She sat upright. Yeah. She looked out at the audience as if she was standing in the Royal Shakespeare Company on the stage in a costume. It was the most extraordinary transformation of a person in that moment. And then the rhythm of the language and the way she recited this sonnet, even though I didn't know where it was from, it wasn't one I was familiar with, and like you, I'd studied a bit of Shakespeare. It was so moving. Yeah. And it was, it's on its 12 lines.
I think she just injected so much meaning into every single line.
Yeah. It was a really beautiful moment, actually.
I'm going to watch
check
TV.
it out.
Yeah.
But people were kind of talking about it over the weekend in the sense that, like, you know, it's no secret that, you know, so arts funding in this country is getting sort of slashed, and she's an amazing example of why we should be investing in the arts, or, you know, just taking it seriously, because, what an amazing skill to have to be able to communicate like that. Right, I've just got time for a couple of quick questions. How do you prioritise your purchases when it comes to Payday? Anyone got any tips?
Well, by purchases,
methods?
I assume they're talking about like discretionary spend. So once all your bills are paid,
Exactly. I would presume
Once all
so.
the needs are done.
Otherwise, we could be
rent
here
or your
a while.
mortgage is paid. That is an interesting question, because I think it will probably differ person to person quite heavily. I don't know that I necessarily look at my salary and always allot a certain percentage. I know that some people do, and that's great, good for them. But obviously, there might be different things on my sort of Payday wish list. So sometimes it could be something quite affordable from H&M or something, and sometimes it'll be something more investment worthy from Net or something. So I think it probably is just that I've probably done some forward planning from the last sort of paycheck and thought, okay, well, I'll factor that one in. But I am quite guilty of making a clothing purchase pretty quickly after.
I was going to say, do you feel you are like you're waiting for Payday so you can be like...
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It really depends, doesn't it? If I've gone on holiday that month, then
Yeah.
the answer's probably
Two
yes.
paydays later.
But also there's that general fear of like, what if it sells out before Payday?
Yes.
True.
I've had
That's
that.
problematic.
Yes.
It's true. How about you, Vanessa? Have you got any methods? Or
Well, I listened to a finance, like personal finance podcast lately about the like needs, wants, and then savings, which is supposed to be like a...
was it 50, 30, 20?
50, 30, 20, yeah, exactly. But a lot of my wants goes on like
The
food
50.
and bars and, you know, like eating out. Like,
right. Leisure.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I don't... I mean, what I do is, if it's something like clothing or accessories, before I purchase, I like to think, can I style it with at least like, you know... 5 other items in my wardrobe, like, do I really need it, or is it more like a actual like I already have enough but I want to add it on top? And I put all of these in consideration and then kind of make the decision, is it worth buying? And I try clothing wise, like per month, like, you know, I can't just, if I already bought something, I can't then go again and be like, I have to wait. Like, even if I want something really badly, if I've already spent enough money that month, I'm like, it's gonna come back. No one's, you know, it's not gonna ruin your life not to buy it right now. Like, you know, just staying considerate with the amount of money you spend.
Yeah.
And I think that is a maturity thing as well, though, isn't it? I can remember being in my 20s with paychecks and being like, right, got to get it now.
Yeah.
Because my life is going to be over if I don't have
or my life will be so much better if I have this thing.
Yeah.
And I really don't feel that way anymore. And very often when I say I don't wait very long before I make a clothing purchase, that makes it sound like I've seen it 2 days ago. I haven't. Normally it's been sort of floating on a wish list somewhere for at least 4 weeks, if not longer.
As long as it's considered, I think it's fair enough, you know? What I find is quite tricky are the ones where it's like, oh, I'm having a bad day, it's time to treat myself. You go to the shops, you buy something random because you're feeling bad, but then that makes you feel worse because then you spend money.
That's true.
Those are the spendings where I try and like step away for a second and I'm like, do I really need this right now, or do I save this money right now and then maybe at the weekend I can have a drink with a friend instead at a nice cocktail bar, or, you know, get something that I actually need in my wardrobe, like this sort of like difference of...
Well, lots of people say to wait 24 hours, don't they, between seeing something and deciding, and, you know, if that often that sort of initial like, wow, I need it has gone.
So, like, when you go on a website and they're like, 208 people are looking at this item right now. And it's like,
stressful.
oh my God. And then I'm like, well, if that many people are looking at it, I don't want it
That's
anymore.
interesting. Or
They
when
also
it's
don't
like
tell
only
you that there's 10,000 of them in stock.
But
exactly.
sometimes some say only a few left. I mean, that could be hundreds for all I know, but I'm like,
they get you like
How many is a few?
yeah, exactly.
1 or 7?
No, I think with me, I actually have this sort of sticky note thing, a digital one on my computer. I've got loads of them for different things, but I've always got like one that's like stuff I want, it's called, and I just like plonk the URLs in and then just kind of wait. Have you got any tips, Georgina?
No, I have no strategies at all. I just kids first, whatever they need, and then I mean, I'm not going to lie. I love shopping. It's not that my strategy is I don't buy clothes. My husband would definitely not agree with that one. But I would say that I get quite excited when it's like, oh, it's payday, yay. Because it's that sort of mentality from when you get your first paycheck and you get something and it's exciting. But I think now, a bit like you, I tend to look at things online. And then if they are in a shop, I might actually go to the shop and view it in real life. And then if I'm sure, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
And if I'm still like, okay, maybe, but if it's, say, a coat, for example, I'd be like, but I might just do a little bit more research. Like if it's a sort of a more expensive investment piece. But if it's something a little bit more high street and fun, I think it's nice when you work hard to give yourself a monthly treat.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
There we go. And then finally, do you have any new additions to your skincare routines?
Well, I've put retinol back into my skincare because it's winter now. So it's not the best. You can use it in summer, but you need to use a really good SPF. So now now the seasons have changed. I've put that back in.
Any particular brands?
I use an Abaji medical. It's kind of prescribed. So it's quite punchy.
Yeah. Sounds good. Effective.
Good. Well, I'm all that. I'm like, if I'm going to do it and I'm going to spend the money and invest, then let's go high percentage.
Yes.
And actually, I'm lucky. My skin is quite tolerant of active ingredients, so I can kind of take it. But I think if you haven't used a retinol before, you probably want to go in quite gently and build up.
Yeah. Harriet?
Yeah, it's kind of probably in a similar vein. So I have started using a sort of higher percentage vitamin C serum again. I think just because in the winter my skin tends to look quite dull and quite sallow quite quickly, less sunlight, etc. So I just find like brightening wise that's helpful. And then I've also changed my cleanser, although I'm not sure it's been the best change. I have gone from using a gel cleanser by a brand called Tula, which people might know because Hailey Bieber made it a bit of a TikTok thing, to a cream cleanser. And it's really nice, but I would say it's not the most effective for removing makeup. So what I tend to do is I tend to use a micellar water to get like all the crap off, basically. And then I do like a second cleanse with a more sort of dedicated
Double
cleanse.
Cleanse.
And I would say the Tula was amazing. You would wash your face and realise how much the micellar water hadn't got off. And this one, I can just tell like a little less is coming off, but obviously I haven't changed my makeup routine.
Vanessa, anything good?
I've got quite a few actually. So we've got Sleated Queen Night Cream. Actually, it's a night mask / cleanser. So you could use it as a cleanser, but I use it as a night mask. And what I do is I put it on and then I use my gua sha afterwards because it stays on. So you can do your little massage afterwards, and it just I wake up and my skin just feels like it just soaked it all up. And it's all lush. And this is a bit of a spoiler for there's a beauty school video coming up that I was there for filming. And I took her advice. I'm very excited for this one to go live. It's about blackheads. And her weekly routine to get rid of them. And I literally copied the whole routine.
Oh, wow.
And I do it once a week. And it is a clay mask, which apparently draws out all the oxidants or whatever it's called. And then you use a micro exfoliant to kind of take it all off. And I didn't know this, and it makes absolute sense you use an antioxidant to kind of seal and help so there's nothing else comes in. This is people should probably watch the beauty school.
I'm listening and I will watch it because I do get blackheads. This is interesting.
Niacinamide.
Oh yeah.
So I put that on afterwards, and then my moisturizer and my SPF. And honestly, my skin is so soft, and I can see I've done it now for 3 weeks. And
I'm staring at your pores
same.
from the side. I'm like, you don't have any.
Tell you, it's magical.
And you only have to do it once a week.
Yeah, you do it once a week, which is nice. But then, I just do the usual double cleanse in the evening. I do use retinol as well, every 3 days. But that, love that routine.
Ooh,
Very excited for the beauty school video.
All the
to come out.
beauty school things have been smashing, but this one sounds
that one honestly
bang up my street.
Very excited for that to come out.
Amazing. And the only new thing I've been using is Kate Moss's Cosmos face oil. Really good. I do really like a face oil. I feel like I can get a bit dry, and I just use that now before moisturiser.
I don't know if you've tried it, but have you smelt the fragrance that's part of the line?
No.
I think you'd really like it. It's really different.
The bottle looks lovely.
Yeah, it's not really a fragrance I would wear like on my skin as such to sort of go out and do my day. It's almost like I can remember Lisa Eldridge once saying that Caudalie, the famous face spray that we all love, she said she couldn't use it on her skin because it's quite rich in essential oils and they irritate her skin. But what she would do is she would like spray it in her palms and like inhale it as like part of her like relaxation routine.
It's a good smell.
Yeah, it's a really good tip. And I sort of feel like the Kate Moss fragrance is a similar vibe. Not that I'm going to like spray it in my palms or what have you, but just sort of as like an aromatic experience.
Oh, there we go.
It's really lovely, really nice.
I've seen a bottle on Georgie's desk. I might go, ask if I can have a spray.
Can I just
spray that in my palms?
I think you'd like it.
Honestly, beauty is an insane world, isn't it?
I know, we could be here all day, couldn't we? But no, we'll leave it there, I think. And we'll put all the recommendations in the notes below in case. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. If you've got any questions, please do email us at podcast@SheerLuxe. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.